Change is very difficult. If you want to learn something about change, then you need to know that nothing changes if nothing changes. And as Einstein said, if we are expecting different results and we're doing the same things again and again, that's insanity. So what we need to do is actually go beyond how we think, feel, and act. And that can mean going beyond your personality. Your personality has been created over decades and years, and attitudes have formed, moods. If we're having 85,000 thoughts a day, that's a lot of thinking that we're going to do over the couple of decades. And that thinking is not always our best thinking. So what we've got to do is go beyond how we think, feel, and act to create something new. Otherwise, things tend to stay the same. So change is difficult, but it's highly, highly possible. And so is healing. Healing from depression, addictions, anxiety, personality disorders. Our message is these things are not things that you need to cope with in life. You can overcome these things. And the messages that people are getting from the pharmaceutical industries are all wrong. It's not enough to sit and cope with depression for 10 years when it's entirely treatable. And we're asking people not to wait. What we've seen happen miraculously at our center over the last decade and a half is how people have healed themselves from all kinds of trauma, personality disorders, decade-long depression, and they do it in a relatively short period of time with relative ease. So change is difficult when we begin, but through practice and through conditioning how we think, and then moving beyond how we think, moving towards how we actually feel, and then going into how we feel and actually changing our feelings and emotions with work. The science on healing and transformation has been out for a long time. We all know the theory of relativity. We know about cause and effect. But what we want our clients to do is actually cause effect. This is how we go beyond the model of yin and yang, and we create something miraculous, marvelous, and wonderful for people who are suffering, who are hurting, and who are in pain. And I've seen it time and time again from people all over the world suffering all different types of conditions. And they come in and we teach them how to start thinking differently. And we do practices, meditation, contemplation, and we use a ton of different tools to get into the mind, where we go so far down and so deep that we actually affect people's emotions. And when those emotions change, because emotions are shorthand for the brain, right? When we can get those emotions to change, then we start to see the process of change in its entirety start to happen. People heal, people grow, they recover, and they transform their lives. And that's how they do it, by interrupting their behavior chain, how they think, feel, act. And in doing so, the effect is a different reality. So when we say, can someone change their personality? Of course they can. But not only can they change it, it is almost necessary at some time in life. If your life is not working for you, what's going to happen is you're going to need to change everything. At some point in life, whether you call it an awakening, a transformation, a shift, you are going to experience healing, not just suffering. And we need people to know that there's always a corner to turn. So if your personality is not working for you, then you need to rise above it or go beyond it. And if you are not living the life that you want to, healed and able to action your potential, then what you need to do is go beyond the program that this mind has created. It's almost a certainty that people suffer trauma in their lives, and they suffer anxious and stressful situations which put them into the survival mind. But the problem with the mind today is we tend to stay in that mind for long periods of time. Now, if we observe a gazelle in the bush who's being chased by a leopard, we see that 5 minutes after that chase has ended, the gazelle is grazing in the grass. However, what we do is we keep that panic, stress, and trauma within us, and we don't even know we're running a stressful program of survive, fight, flight, freeze. And when we run that program for extended periods of time, the mind literally takes over without us knowing. And everything we do is happening from the perspective of the past. So the present moment and the power of now is something that is one of the tools that you need to use to start healing your life. What we do is we keep our hand on that hot plate and we burn. So stress is something that we need to cope with. It's something that we need to overcome. Stress is not necessarily bad. Some people thrive on stress, and stress can help us go from point A to point B. So some people find stress positive and others negative. But the way we respond is actually a program of the mind. A lot of us are stuck in extended periods of fight, flight, and freeze. And then we've got trouble because the personality, like a glass overflowing with water, the mind takes over the thinking. And we end up with things like perfectionism, codependence, control issues, judgment issues. And in short periods of time, people are healing their lives. We've seen them pull their pain machines off. We've seen them change their medications, stop their medications. We've seen people stop feeling like they want to fall off the end of the earth in a very short space of time and never experience suffering again. And in fact, a ton of people who do our programs come to us and say they get the best benefits of the program a year or two afterwards. Some of the work we do at the center is changing people's behavior chains. Those chains create their current reality. And to stop creating that current reality is something that people are not going to be able to do on their own. After all, their best thinking got them to where they want to be in life. So what we need to do is run an entirely unique and different program. And that's what we bring to the table. So we teach people how to interrupt their behavior chain, starting with their thinking and how they feel and what their emotions deep down really are. Because most of us who are in survival mind tend to not even know what those deeper emotions are anymore. And we're wondering why we're getting terrible consequences in our lives. We also think that things happen by accident, that we got a raw deal. But we don't get a raw deal. We get raw thinking, and that thinking has to change. So that's what we do. Through various tools and exercises that we've learned over the last few decades, we help people each and every day apply those techniques into changing their conditioned program and running an entirely new program. How they think, feel, and behave needs to change. And what we say to people is, what do you think needs to change? Absolutely everything. There's no longer, with the tools that we have today and the research that we have done, we no longer have to sit with personality disorders, with anxiety and depression crippling us and ruining us. So we can get up from whatever is holding us back and move forward by practicing and causing effect to happen in our favor for once. We don't just go beyond personality, we go beyond mind, and we get into the heart, and we get into the sacral chakras, and we get into the root, and we let that energy begin to flow. And sometimes for people, that energy that is in the base of their spine has not flowed for years. And we teach them how to do that, how to start the flow and then continue that flow of energy, chi or shakti, for the rest of their lives. Our brains run on that energy or electricity, and that's what motivates us and moves us forward. And if you don't have any motivation, if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, you need an entirely new battery to run the system. And that's what we tend to give people in the very first part of the program when they begin, is a new way of accessing new energy. And energy, as we know, it grows. Energy attracts energy. And inside any cell is 99% space and energy. So that's what we use, that 99%. And we find that 98% of people are spending 98% of their time on things that do not matter. And that's the program that they run. And we teach them how to change that completely with the 2% that is inside. And we move them through their root, through certainty, through habit, through memory and trauma. And we move them safely into an area of uncertainty and change, something that the brain cannot stand to do unless it gets a new program and finds certainty in change. And what we do is tell minds that are in survival that it's okay to change and it's okay to grow and look forward to new images, new visions, which the brain cannot do. It's an entirely separate part of the brain. So our survival mind of the brain is at the back of the head and downstairs, where our creativity, spontaneity, and all of these things is at the front of our heads. And we wonder how we cannot link the two together to create a bridge of change. So we link the back of the mind to the front and the right to the left. And then we link your energy straight from the root and your base of your spine all the way through your body. And that we do with meditation, contemplation techniques, and a ton of other tools that we teach people in a very short period of time how to change their lives. And it's almost like observing a miracle at times. People don't need to wait for a disaster or a rock bottom. They don't need to have a car accident, fall off their bicycle, whatever it's going to be, to get that sudden urge, that sudden energy shift to change. You can change it yourself. Why wait? We help you understand why life change is so difficult, and how through using simple tools and practices each day that you can literally overcome all the limitations of your mind. We are all capable of conquering pain and physical conditions. I've seen it time and time again. We can all heal the mind. The depression, the anxiety, and all kinds of these disorders that limit our potential for creating new and lasting change is based in a different part of the brain, and that's the part that we access through these tools. So people come, they arrive, and straight away we put them in to doing practice. And if change is in a different part of the brain, what we've got to do is access that change, and we do so with a ton of tools and techniques like meditation and contemplation, as we've said. And we teach people how to do these things and go beyond the fear into what is love and bliss, and some people would say even heaven on earth. If your suffering's bad enough, it's easy to understand that a heaven on earth is the opposite of the hell that we can experience for years on end. There comes a time in life when we have to recondition our cognition, and that happens when you're ready to do it. So recognition is what we teach our clients. And instead of being stuck in the trauma, in the survival mind, in the images and the feelings and those thoughts, 85,000 of them a day, all of which are locked in a program of the past, we teach them how to access something new. And something new is difficult for many, many people to understand. But when you implement a right program, you can access these things in a very short space of time. And all you have to do is keep practicing. Like anything else in the world, all you have to do is keep practicing. Progress, not perfection, each and every day. Moving out of a survival consciousness and into the contemplative field, where we are thinking above our thinking, our stream of 85,000 thoughts a day, where we can literally go beyond that thinking. We enter into this contemplative field, and we are able to access all our faculties and talents that are often dormant for years and years and years. We don't even know they're there, but they're inside, and all we need is that energy within to be released and push them all the way through to our crown. Moving beyond survival consciousness and creating this contemplative consciousness is what the healing is all about. It is beyond anything you can think, because the mind has been battered. It battles to experience the truth, and it's the truth that's going to set us free, right? So we need to find that truth in the entirely different part of the heart, body, and brain. We'll use the techniques, change our lives, and then help others do the same.